How's it going, my furry friends? And I'm not calling you a furry, but I kind of am, because odds are you clicked this video because you are wanting to play a druid in the Burning Crusade, and a lot of people are just now hopping onto the druid hype because they do become super relevant in the Burning Crusade, whereas in Classic they were kind of the jack of all trades, master of none. In TBC, you're pretty much the master of whatever you want to do, which is pretty cool. So this video is just going to go over a couple of builds that I myself will be playing because I am a Feral main at heart. I will always be playing Feral. I don't know why I just voice cracked when it's at heart. But I'm going to be going over my leveling spec, DPS, and tanking spec at 70, as well as Feral PvP spec. And maybe I'll do another video for things like Resto or Boomkin if you guys want to see it. I am going to be healing in Arena as well. I'll have two druids. One of them is going to be a Restoration druid, and the other one is obviously going to be a Feral, which will be my main. But to start off, we are going to have the level 60 build that we're going to go into TBC with, because a lot of things changed during the pre-patch, which should be coming out in about a month or so for TBC. You have access to those 70 talents, and that is a huge game changer for druids and many other classes. So you're going to want to obviously pick up that max rank talent as soon as you can, and you can get it at 60. So let's just go over the build here. A lot of the talents that were in Classic, they're still in TBC, but a lot of them actually got shifted to different trees. Now, Omen of Clarity is a restoration talent instead of a balance talent, and a lot of them had just a little minute changes to the actual skills themselves. So starting off in the Feral tree, we're going to go all the way down and get Mangle. So to do so, while we're leveling, we're going to go with Ferocity because that's the exact same as it was in vanilla, so it just reduces the cost of your abilities as well as the energy of some of your abilities in cat form. Nothing changes there. I'm not going to go Feral Aggression because we don't really need the Demo Roar effect, and we're not going to be Ferocious Biting as much as a DPS cat now because Mangle comes in, and we'll explain why that is in a little bit. I go Brutal Impact, 2 points, just so we can have an extra second on our Mighty Bash. I'm going this strictly because I am on a PvP server, so there's going to be a lot of PvP going on. I'm on Ferlina. It's gonna get a little sweaty, so we want to have that, and as well as Thick Hide. I want to have some extra armor because again, it's gonna be a bloodbath. So that'll help us out with the PvP and potential survivability. If you weren't on a PvP realm, you could easily just go 5 points into Feral Aggression if you wanted, or 3 and then 2 into Mighty Bash. And then the next tier, we go Feral Charge and 2 points for Feral Swiftness. Same exact thing. We want that movement speed because we're going to be questing. We're always going to be in a cat form pretty much doing DPS to the mobs. Feral Charge is just a nice gap closer and interrupt as well. And then Sharpened Claws, same exact thing as it is right now. Increases your crit percent, and you want to go down to Primal Fury. So the next tree down, we get Primal Fury. Gives you 100% chance to generate more rage, or gives you two combo points per crit in cat form. So there's your combo point generator. Gotta have that. Predatory Strikes, it's just strictly a DPS upgrade. You're taking it no matter what. Now, I'm not going to be initially going shredding attacks. So reason being is you're going to be questing. You're not really going to have a chance to get behind the target to cast that shred because you're just going to be going head to head. So I'm going to avoid getting that for now, and we're just going to go straight down to the next tier. We're going to go Savage Fury, 2 out of 2, max it out, because again, it's just a DPS increase. You're going to be casting Claw a lot, you're going to be casting Mangle a lot, stuff like that. And then we go Fairy Fire Feral. You have to have it no matter what. As a Feral Druid, it's just too good not to have. And then this is where I'm going to go 2 points Nurturing Instinct. So your healing increases 50% of your strength. You're going to be having a lot of strength coming out of vanilla because strength is pretty much Feral Druid's #1 attribute that you want to have besides agility, because that generates the most attack power for us. So you're going to be having a lot of strength. You're going to want to have that constant uptime of doing quests, so being able to heal yourself more efficiently just lets you, get right back into it. Next tier down, we have Survival of the Fittest. This just gives you 3% increased attributes, which is pretty nice, and again, reduces the chance that you'll be critically hit by melee. I'm on a PvP server. I'm going to pick that up. 5 points Heart of the Wild. Same exact thing that it is now. You just gotta have it. It's too good as a Feral Druid not to go. And then Leader of the Pack, same thing that it is right now, except from a 3% it goes up to 5% increase to the melee and ranged crit, which is pretty nice. And then you have Imp, Leader of the Pack, Improved Leader of the Pack. This is a new ability that came in TBC, so you put 2 points into it. Each point gives you a respective... I can't even click out of it. Hey, hang on 1 second. We'll just click out of it so you can see. So each point gives you 2% chance of increasing your total health off of a crit that you do. So you're going to be critting a bunch. It's only on a 6-second cooldown, so it's just a nice constant HPS for you to have while you're leveling. You're going to be critting a ton, because right now I think unbuffed I'm around 32% crit, so you're going to have a lot of crit chances. 6-second cooldown, 4% of your health. You're pretty much going to get 4% of your health every 6 seconds while you're fighting, which is nice. And then Predatory Instincts, we're going to go only 3 points into this, and again, you could put this here or there, but I like putting some points into it, just personal preference. So while you're in any of your forms, you increase the damage of your critical strikes by 2% scaling per point. Sorry, 3%. Actually, weird. No, I'm an idiot. I misread it, sorry. 2% per point. So we'll have 6% increased critical damage. It's more of a late game talent, but we'll pick up a couple points in it because we have to go for the main goal. This is your 70 talent as a druid. This is your new ability. This is your spammable bread and butter, which makes druids super viable because it has that additional bleed effect on it. So you mangle your target and it does a whole bunch of percent damage, and then additional damage will make your bleeds do additional damage, so I can't talk, for an extra 12 seconds. So now instead of spamming Ferocious Bite on targets, which you do in Classic and you're not allowed to bleed because it takes up a debuff slot, you're going to now actually want to be putting on those rakes, those rips on your targets, because that's going to have a huge increase from Mangle, which is why we're not going for Feral Aggression early, because we're not going to be Ferocious Biting as much. And you could swap around some of these points if you want to go a little bit deeper into Feral, but the reason I only put 41 points into Feral early is, like I had alluded to earlier, is Omen of Clarity is now a resto talent, and it's pretty deep down there, so you're going to have to commit at least 11 points into the resto tree to pick it up. So I want to be able to get this as soon as possible. So as soon as I hit 61, first level in Outlands is going to be put straight in Omen of Clarity, giving us that clear casting effect. So to get there, you have to go 5 points fur. Nothing has changed there. Exact same thing it is. And then you have Naturalist, which is actually a really nice talent. Same thing that it was in Classic, but now they added every point into it. You also get 2% increased damage for all of your physical attacks, scaling up to 10%, which is huge. So we'll have that in the end game. So we put 2 points there, and then Natural Shapeshifter is now in the resto tree as well. So we'll go 3 out of 3 Natural Shapeshifting, and the next point we get goes straight into Omen of Clarity. So that is your 61 talent, and then from there you'll just go either more into Naturalist if you want, or you can fill out more of the Feral tree. But we'll go ahead and go over to the level builds when you are totally leveled up, level 70 and whatnot. So this first one is going to be my tanking build that I'm going to use if I do decide to go bear tank in TBC for endgame PvE content, which is very viable. Druid tanks are very good in Burning Crusade. So same thing, we're going to go 14 points into natural, so we're going to finish out the same thing we had for leveling. We're going to go 5, 2, 3, and 1 in Omen of Clarity. However, we're going to change it up, and intensity now in the restoration tree also excuse me, is going to be what gives you your rage. This is pretty much what used to be the improved enrage ability, which was in the feral tree, now is added on to that mana regeneration. So this is your instant 10 rage when you pop enrage. You need to have that because start your pull, you want to have enrage before you pull so you don't have that armor debuff, and then you have a juicy stack of rage going into the pull so you can cast your abilities, generate that threat. So we're not going to max out Naturalist because we'd rather have that instant rage generation to allow us to pull quicker here. In the feral tree, we're going to throw the rest of our combo points into it. We're going to have 47 combo points, not combo points, sorry, talent points. And we're going to go 5 out of 5 feral aggression because you need to have that imp roar for the damage reduction there. And then 5 out of 5 ferocity because that just allows us to spam those abilities much more efficiently, obviously having less rage cost to them. We're going to go 3 out of 3 feral instinct strictly for the threat increase. 15% more threat is huge. And you gotta have thick hide because you're tanking, you need that extra armor contribution. We're gonna go 2 out of 2 Feline Swiftness, solely for the fact that we want that dodge. You are a mitigation tank still, you don't have any block, and you can still get crit at end game. So you're gonna want as much dodge as possible to obviously not get critically struck by a boss and potentially one shot. Feral Charge, gotta have it, gap closer, interrupt, stuff like that. Really good for pulling, really good for getting in there and doing threat before anyone else gets into the fight. Sharpened Claws, max it out for the same reason of having Primal Fury. You get more rage generation off of a crit. Predatory Strikes, same thing. More damage equals more threat. And then Shredding Attacks. This is the same thing as it is in Classic, except you have new ability as a bear tank, which is just a spammable, similar to a Sunder from a warrior, but it is a spammable bleed in your bear form, which is just really good for generation. And again, it combos off of your mangle ability, which will allow that to do more damage. This just reduces the cost of that last rate, so you can absolutely spam it. Go down to the next tree, and you're only picking up Fairy Fire Feral. You need it to initiate your pulls, and obviously the effect is really awesome. Then we go 5 out of 5, Heart of the Wild, self-explanatory, stat boost. And then we have Survival of the Fittest. Again, you are going to be still getting crit by bosses, so you are going to want to have that option to reduce the chance that you will be crit by bosses. And then we go Leader of the Pack, improve Leader of the Pack, because who doesn't want that aura? That thing is nasty. 5 points out of Predatory Instincts, just because, again, more crit chance, more threat, stuff like that. And then we go Mangle, because it is usable in bear as well as cat form. Alright, so next up is the DPS Druid, Cat Druid. For me, DPS, when I say DPS, is feral, because I don't play balance ever. So we're going to be going cat form here. This strictly PvE build, because you actually take out a lot of talents, which I would still use in everyday situations as a Druid. This is just, you want to pump as much as you can in a raid scenario, and this will be the build for that. So now, instead of those 3 points into intensity that you were taking as a taking as a bear Druid, you would just put those extra 3 points into natural, so you get that extra 6%, moving to 10% increased physical damage. Really, really huge there. And then you get rid of some of these mid-tier points in the feral tree. You don't have feral instinct, and you don't go thick-eyed because you're not getting hit. You don't need to generate any threat. No need to have them. You don't take feral charge, because we're going to put these points elsewhere, which is pretty interesting. So you'll max out still your Feline Swiftness, Sharpened Claws, Primal Fury, Predatory Strikes, all this stuff, because it is just absolutely necessary. Now, we go 2 points into Savage Fury, so we get increased damage to our cat abilities. We go Fairy Fire Feral still, pick up Heart of the Wild, as well as Survival of the Fittest, so we have that increased attribute point, and pretty much everything self-explanatory, pretty much the same for the most part. So we're adding those 2 points of Savage Fury, and then all these extra points that we're not taking, we're not having the 3 points here, not having the 3 points there, we're putting 5 points into improved Mark of the Wild, because you want to have this just because in case for whatever reason you're doing like either dungeons or whatnot, you want to have that increase to it. 35% increase to Mark of the Wild just means you're getting more strength, you're getting more agility, so you're doing more damage. So that's good to have. Most Druids, Restoration Druids, are going to have this, but on the off chance that you're doing just a dungeon, or say even a 10-man like Karazhan and there isn't a Resto Druid, having that improved Mark of the Wild is very, very beneficial to your party as well as the whole raid. Alright, here is the fun stuff. This is my PvP build, which I will be playing in Arena, even though Feral Druid's not top tier in Arena. It's still fun. You can still have some comps that work with it. And obviously, being on a PvP realm, I'm going to be PvPing, over Elemental Plateau, on my mining route, stuff like that. I'm always going to be fighting Alliance or Horde, vice versa, whatever you want to do. So this is my PvP build. You do lose a little bit of damage because you're not specing to things like Survival of the Fittest, stuff like that, but keep it simple. You want to go all the way down to Omen of Clarity. Again, having a free cast in PvP is huge, and just being able to top yourself off or get a free Ferocious Spider rip-off is pretty huge. The main difference is we are now going into that balance tree and getting improved Nature's Grasp. It's the same exact thing as it is in Classic. If you have it all the way maxed out, it is a 100% chance, if it doesn't resist, to root the target for a max rank Entangle Root. So that's really nice to have just appeal and, be able to kite some classes. Then we go 5 points into Ferocity. We're going to completely skip the Feral Aggression tree here because, like I stated earlier, you want to have as much dots on the target as possible as a Feral Druid, so you're going to be using those rakes, those rips, comboing it with your mangle. So not going to get too many Ferocious Bites off, and just want to have the Ferocity because I think there's more value in that, having the reduced cost of your abilities. And then I'm going to go 2 points Brutal Impact for that 1 second increase to the stun, and then Thick Hide as well, just to have a little bit of armor mitigation for tanking stuff like rogues, hunters, stuff like that. And then we completely take the Tier 3 slot of talents. We grab everything: Feline Swiftness, Feral Charge, Sharpened Claws, Damage, Mobility, Utility. That's the name of the game with all 3 of those. Primal Fury, Predatory Strikes, Savage Fury. It's just extra damage, stuff like that. Fairy Fire Feral, gotta grab it. This is where we go a little bit back to the old school leveling build. I'm gonna go personally 2 points into Nurturing Instinct because 50% of your strength into healing. I think that's really awesome, and having those long, drawn-out fights, you're going to be having a lot of healing tossed on yourself. Combo that with the Omen of Clarity, getting a free cast heal, which actually does a decent amount of healing. I think that's pretty beneficial. Maxing out Heart of the Wild because that stat boost is just absolutely cracked. And now this is where you can kind of throw some points around. You can kind of change it up. You're going to go Leader of the Pack, improve Leader of the Pack, and Mangle no matter what. Got to get it. It's too good not to have. This, for the first time, we're going to spec into Primal Tenacity, which it's 5 points per skill, 3 skills total, 3 talent points total. It just increases your chance to resist stun or fear. I think that's pretty good. If you're not on a PvP realm, I don't know. It's situational. You don't have to take it, but I think it's pretty good because getting feared is still terrible in TBC, and there's a lot more stuns in the mechanic. Mace spec becomes available. Blacksmiths have, the mace stun, so there's a lot of stuns in TBC, and I don't want to deal with it. You could shift this around. You could go maybe 2 points here, take a couple points out of Predatory Instincts, and you could put them into Survival of the Fittest if you want, because again, that just is another way to mitigate damage, reducing the chance that you can get critically struck. So this is all just personal preference. I'm personally going to do it this way, 15%. All 3 in Primal Tenacity, skip out on Survival of the Fittest, and only go 4 out of 5 for the Predatory Instincts. That's just me. Actually, maybe we even go something like that. Go 3 and 1 point into there. It's all personal preference. You can play around with those talent points, but for the most part, you're going to go 5 points no matter what into the balance side, and you're going to go 14 no matter what into the restoration side, because you have to have Omen of Clarity. You have to have Nature's Grasp when you're wanting to PvP. And then those bottom tier points in Feral is whatever you want to do. But pretty much, for the most part, you're taking a lot of these core abilities no matter what in every single spec. Ideally, obviously, once you get 61, when you're leveling up, you're going to grab Omen of Clarity. So for the most part, every single spec, no matter what, has at least 14 points into Restoration, because you got to get that Omen of Clarity. It is too good not to have. And then, depending if you're tanking or DPSing, you shift some points in Restoration. And then PvP, again, you're shifting those points. But that is it for my Feral Druid talent video. Give you 4 different builds, 1 for leveling, 1 for tanking at 70, 1 for DPSing at 70, and then 1 for Feral Druid PvP at 70. And again, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, I'm definitely down to do restoration or balance videos if you'd like. I just wanted to throw out this Feral Druid one because that is primarily what I've always played. I've played it since vanilla 15 years ago, and I'm going to be playing it in TBC as well. So excited to help you guys out with Druid in TBC. Feel free to ask me any questions. I'll answer them to the best of my knowledge. And I know there's going to be a lot of Druids, so do not disappoint me. If you're picking Druid up for the first time, make sure you know what you're getting yourself into, because they play completely different than any other class, but they are chef's kiss in vanilla. Not in vanilla, sorry, TBC. They ain't chef's kiss in vanilla. They're chef's kiss in TBC. They finally come online and are super relevant, so again, I'm super looking forward to it, and I'm just kind of rambling at this point, so I'm just going to cut the video off here. And any other video suggestions, maybe not even related to Druid, just feel free to let me know. I want to be making a lot of TBC content in the future, so that's all I got. Goodbye.